Hello, welcome to another pen talk. Today we're going to look at two Japanese pens which have some similarities other than their place of origin. They're both clear blue pens, and they're both, I would say, in the middle price range for these two particular manufacturers. And for someone looking for an inexpensive pen which still has a decent amount of uniqueness and interesting aspects to it, I thought these two pens would be good to look at. The first one we have is from Platinum. Again, classic packaging. Platinum does a lot with plastic boxes in some of their less inexpensive pens. As the cover just pulls off, you have your instruction manual and the pen. The pen came with a cartridge. It did not come with a converter, but I had a converter which I was able to put in, which is in there now. And it's the standard Platinum converter, which is gold. I left a sticker on the pen. You probably recognize it if you've been into these types of pens. This is the Platinum Cool in the crystal blue version. The pen has a decent feel to it. It's not very heavy, but it feels nice to the hand. And one thing you might notice is inside the barrel, it's some facets. Kind of reminds me of the Pilot Petite one, which I looked at in my earlier reviews. And they just did a nice job of giving the pen, rather than just making it a crystal blue color without any real variation to it, they did add some things to it. It has this white inner cap, which I have to admit is not the most aesthetically pleasing piece of it. I'm certain it's very functional. The clip is somehow put into the cap. As you can see, there's nothing really to indicate how it's in there. It's a nice clip. It's a pull off. As you saw, I tried to unscrew it because that's what I normally expect to do with pens. It has what I would call the classic slip-on inexpensive nib. You may recognize this feed from some other inexpensive pens. I like it that the feed section is clear. The section you can be able to see the ink through there. The barrel just unscrews. There's a nice piece of metal here for the threads for the barrel to get on, and then a nice metal stop. So I'd say this is extremely well made. And as we can see, I bought this on eBay and I got it at a good price. It's also available from many other distributors, Goulet Pens, Amazon. So if this is something that you would like, it's certainly easy to find and get a hold of. Of all the Japanese pen manufacturers, I have a liking of Sailor for, I don't know what you would call it, a couple of reasons. I like the design. I love their nibs. I've never had a bad Sailor nib. And as you can see, this package is a little bit more high-end than the Platinum packaging. This is very similar to what they package the high-end Sailors in. When you bring out the pen, you'll notice again it's a crystal blue, but certainly a little bit darker than the blue resin of the Platinum Cool. This is part of their Procolor series. The nice diffused cloudy sky to help hopefully show out the details. A nice wide cap band, which has the traditional Sailor, founded 1911. Sailor Japan, founded 1911. As you can see, the transparency lets you see the nib. It's just a very classy look. It's the same size and shape as the 1911 standard that some of you may be familiar with. As I mentioned before, the cap is a little bit less ornate, but you can, see the details of how the pen was manufactured. Very clean, very crisp. Just a standard unscrew and steel nib. Nice design. You got your Sailor anchor down at the bottom and your F for fine, which is what Sailor puts their designations for most of their nibs on the left side of the nib. As you can see, it is definitely a fine nib. Nice clear section. One of the things that's nice about Sailors is they're extremely well made, very well engineered. As we unscrew the section, we'll see a standard metal insert that is in the section to give it stability and strength, and you have the metal threads there to attach the barrel, and you have that classic Sailor O-ring there that would really seal when the barrel was put in place. Obviously silicone grease there, and this probably would make an excellent eyedropper. And with this fine nib, you probably could be able to write for many weeks before you would run out of ink. Welcome to the comparison section. We have the Platinum Cool, the Sailor Procolor, the Sailor 1911 Standard, the Platinum 3776 Centurion Chartreuse Blue, Pilot 78G, and a Lamy Safari. These pens are all range in prices, and just to put a perspective in, this is the least expensive pen, generally under $10. I mean, you could pay up to $20 for it, but I got 3 of them for delivered price of $24 from overseas. This one is 30 plus, around there. I got it for a little bit less in an auction. This one retails for $100, and I got it for about $45. This one retails north of $150, and I think I got it for $80. Same with this pen. Sometimes I've seen this one close to $200. I've also had, when I did a review on this, I showed you the Amazon ads, which are around $80 depending upon the color, the style, and the nib. And of course the Safari, $25, $35 price range. So let's take a look at these from the nib comparison. So you have to remember which one unscrews and which one pulls off. I like to line them up so the bottom of the section lines up, and that way you can get a perspective on the size of the nibs, the length of the sections, and that thing. The section on the 78G is probably the thinnest of the group, followed by the Cool. Then these three here look very similar. And of course, the Lamy Safari has its own unique section, which, unless it's been knocked off by some Japanese manufacturers, these nibs have a lot of similarities to it. They're what I call the inexpensive stamped steel slip-on type of nibs. As you can see, the feed is kind of similar in the back end. It's nice with this little metal at the bottom of the section. Some people may not like it, but you don't notice any difference in the temperature or anything, so that doesn't impact that at all. Just to compare these two nibs together, this is a video comparing these two pens. One's a classic nib, classic feed, a slip-on nib, and also that's represented in the price. But there's a lot of other features that the Platinum has, which is nice. So it's not certainly just an inexpensive pen. And we can take a look at the two Sailors. So the 1911 nib's a little more impressive as gold. It's a little wider. And the feeds are very similar, if not identical, on the back. So that's interesting. As you can see, the metal band between the section and the barrel. For a writing sample, I decided to ink both pens with the same Iroshiku ink, Konpeki. It's a wonderful blue. I've used it in a number of pens. All the Iroshiku inks that I've tried, and I have about 6 bottles, they all have excellent flow characteristics, good saturation, well behaved on almost any type of paper, and dry relatively quickly. So for consistency, you can't beat them, and obviously a beautiful bottle, but somewhat expensive depending upon where you buy them. We're going to start with the Platinum Cool. I think these pens will work better and look better posted. You know, it fits well in the hand. It's a good weight and balance. Might be good to spell it correctly. The nib is excellent. It's smooth. It's a little soft. And I think I heard Pray Tell that this nib has some flux in it. So let's see what we can do. Yeah, I'd say that's decent for an inexpensive pen with a steel nib. As you can see, I hit the feed a few times on there. Overall, I enjoyed this writing experience from this pen. It's certainly very nice. And we'll see what type of patch of ink it lays down. I think it's pretty wet. Yeah, it's pretty wet. So overall, I'm quite pleased with how the Platinum Cool writes. So now we're going to look at the Sailor Procolor. And I'd say this is an extra fine. Not as smooth as the nib on the Platinum. But again, as a fine nib that generally they can be a little bit more scratchier than other nibs. This finally reminds me of the fine Platinum nibs I was using that are more traditional nib design. I expect this is not going to lay down the same amount of ink. This seems to be fairly dry. Yeah, exactly. So overall, I would say aesthetically, I like the Sailor, but from a writing experience, Platinum Cool is definitely the one to get. So hopefully you enjoyed this little overview of 2 blue pens. So we will go back to the one that I enjoyed the best. And as we close, I'd like to thank you for watching. Hopefully you found the video enjoyable, entertaining, educational. May all your writing experiences be pleasurable, and may they be many. Thanks.